The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as President Thomas Miller of Earth stood at the podium. His weathered face showed no fear as he gazed at the assembled alien representatives. The massive chamber, with its towering crystal walls and floating platforms, housed delegates from over 500 advanced civilizations. Yet none had expected such boldness from the representative of a primitive world. Distinguished members of the council, Miller began, his voice steady and clear. For the past decade, Earth has suffered numerous unexplained disasters. Mysterious plagues. Devastating storms. Earthquakes in regions with no fault lines. He paused, letting his words sink in. Today, we bring evidence that these were not natural events. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some had tentacles, others had multiple heads, but they all shared the same expression of growing unease. Miller tapped a small device on his wrist. Holographic images appeared above the chamber, showing detailed scans and data streams. Our scientists have detected unique energy signatures during each disaster. Energy signatures that match known weapon systems from certain council members. Murmurs of protest arose from the assembly. A tall, blue-skinned delegate stood up. These are serious accusations, human president. Earth is barely a Class 3 civilization. You have no authority to. We have every authority, Miller cut in, his eyes flashing. Because we have proof. Proof that at least 3 council races conspired to weaken Earth through indirect attacks, hoping to force us into submission without violating the council's non-intervention laws. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some delegates shouted denials, others demanded to see the evidence, and a few quietly tried to leave the chamber. Miller raised his hand, and surprisingly, the noise died down. Perhaps it was the cold determination in his stance, or maybe it was the dozen human military officers who had quietly entered the chamber, carrying diplomatic cases that everyone suspected contained more than just documents. Earth was considered too primitive to notice these attacks, Miller continued. Too primitive to trace them back to their source. Too primitive to respond. A grim smile crossed his face. That was your first mistake. The human president pressed another button on his wrist device. New holograms appeared, showing technological achievements that Earth had kept hidden. Defensive systems far beyond what anyone thought humans capable of. Weapons that made several delegates pale or change color entirely. We could have retaliated at any time in the past 3 years, Miller revealed. Instead, we gathered evidence. We built our case. And now we demand justice through proper council channels. He looked around the chamber. Because unlike our attackers, we respect galactic law. The council leader, an ancient being with crystalline features, leaned forward. What exactly are you asking for, President Miller? 3 things, Miller answered. First, the immediate identification and arrest of those responsible. Second, reparations for the damage caused to Earth. And third. He paused, making eye contact with several nervous delegates. Earth's immediate elevation to full council membership, with all the rights and protections that entails. The silence that followed was deafening. In a single speech, the human president had not only exposed a conspiracy but had also maneuvered Earth into a position of power. The gathered delegates realized that humanity had been playing a much longer and more sophisticated game than anyone had suspected. As the council leader called for an emergency session to address these demands, Miller stood quietly at the podium, the hint of a smile on his face. Earth had been underestimated for the last time. The age of treating humans as primitive newcomers was over. The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted for 6 tense hours. President Miller and his team sat in a private chamber, watching the proceedings through a secure holographic feed. Admiral James Reed, Earth's military chief, stood by the window, staring at the strange alien ships that filled the space around the council station. They're scrambling, Reed observed, watching another diplomatic vessel make a hasty departure. 3 ships from the Blue Star Alliance have already left. Guilty conscience, perhaps? Miller nodded, his eyes fixed on the feed. The evidence against them is particularly damning. That tsunami that hit Southeast Asia? Their energy signature was all over it. A young analyst, Lisa Porter, approached with a data tablet. Mr. President, we're detecting encrypted transmissions from at least 12 council members to their home worlds. Our AI systems are flagging patterns consistent with emergency military mobilization. Let them mobilize, Miller replied calmly. They'll soon learn that Earth's defenses aren't our only hidden achievement. The door chimed, and a council page entered, a floating orb of pure energy contained within a translucent shell. The council requests President Miller's presence for the preliminary findings. Back in the Grand Chamber, the atmosphere had changed dramatically. Gone was the initial shock and outrage, replaced by a heavy, almost funeral silence. The council leaders' crystalline form had dimmed considerably, a sign of deep distress in their species. President Miller, the council leader began, their voice resonating through the chamber. Our initial investigation confirms the authenticity of Earth's evidence. We have identified 7 council races involved in the conspiracy against your world. Holographic images appeared, showing the accused species. The Blue Star Alliance was there, as expected, along with the Hive Collective and several other advanced civilizations. Their representatives were conspicuously absent from the chamber. The council's laws are clear, the leader continued. Covert attacks against developing civilizations carry the highest penalties. The guilty parties will face immediate sanctions and... Respectfully, Miller interrupted, sanctions are not enough. These attacks killed millions of our people. They destroyed entire regions. They were acts of war. A reptilian delegate rose. You speak of war, yet you claim to respect council law. Which is it, human? Miller's response was measured but firm. We respect law that's equally applied. The council's founding charter states that any civilization subjected to unprovoked aggression has the right to proportional self-defense. You cannot be suggesting, the reptilian delegate began, but Miller raised a hand. We're not suggesting anything. We're informing you of what's already done. He nodded to Admiral Reed, who activated a small device. New holograms filled the chamber, showing real-time images from across the galaxy. Hidden human outposts in strategic locations. Stealth satellites orbiting key military installations of the guilty parties. Defense networks that had been secretly built over years. While they thought they were cleverly attacking a primitive world, Miller explained, we were learning about them. Studying their weaknesses. Preparing countermeasures that they never imagined we could create. The council leader's glow pulsed with concern. What are you saying, President Miller? I'm saying that in the past 6 hours, Earth has activated defensive grids around every major system belonging to our attackers. We can shut down their interstellar travel capabilities with the push of a button. Miller's voice carried no threat, just simple fact. We don't want to use this power. We want justice through the council. But make no mistake, we will not accept half measures. The chamber erupted in heated discussions. Some delegates appeared impressed by human ingenuity, others terrified by the implications. Earth, the supposedly primitive newcomer, had outmaneuvered some of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. As the council scrambled to address this unprecedented situation, Miller exchanged a knowing look with Admiral Reed. Phase 2 of Earth's plan was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The following day brought chaos to the galactic political landscape. The 7 accused civilizations had recalled their ambassadors, but found themselves trapped. Earth's hidden defense systems prevented their military fleets from making any significant movements. In the Council Station's secure human quarter, President Miller met with his inner circle. The room's windows showed the swirling colors of distant nebulae, a deceptively peaceful backdrop to the crisis at hand. The Hive Collective has requested private negotiations, reported Marcus Wells, Earth's chief diplomat. His tablet displayed a stream of incoming messages from various alien races. They're offering significant technological concessions in exchange for lifting the blockade. Admiral Reed snorted. They're hoping to buy time. Our intel suggests they're trying to crack our defense grid's encryption. Let them try, said Lisa Porter, her fingers dancing over multiple holographic displays. The quantum AI managing our systems evolves faster than their best computers can process. Every attempt to breach our security only makes it stronger. Miller studied a three-dimensional map showing the current situation. Earth's hidden network of defensive satellites glowed as blue dots, surrounding the major systems of their attackers in an intricate web. Red dots indicated attempted breaches. There were hundreds of them. What about the other council members? Miller asked. The ones not involved in the attacks? Marcus consulted his notes. Mixed reactions. About 40% support our position, seeing us as victims defending our rights. 30% are terrified of our hidden capabilities and want us contained. The rest are staying neutral, waiting to see how this plays out. A soft chime interrupted them. The council leader was requesting another session. When Miller returned to the chamber, he found it dramatically changed. Many seats were empty, not just those of the accused races, but also several minor powers who had fled the station in fear. The remaining delegates sat in tense clusters, whispering among themselves. The council leader's crystalline form pulsed with urgent colors. President Miller, we have received ultimatums from the accused civilizations. They demand the immediate removal of Earth's blocking technology, threatening unified military action if we fail to comply. Military action? Miller raised an eyebrow. Against whom? Earth? The Council? Both? They claim your blockade is an act of war, the leader continued. They argue it violates Council law. Miller smiled slightly. Interesting how they suddenly care about Council law, after spending years violating it by attacking Earth. Nevertheless, a bird-like delegate interjected, this situation risks sparking a galactic war. Millions could die. Millions already have died, Miller countered. On Earth. Or do their lives matter less because we're younger than you? He stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Let me be clear about our position. Earth's defensive measures will remain in place until justice is served. We demand full disclosure of all attacks against Earth, complete reparations for the damage caused, and the surrender of those who ordered these attacks for trial under Council law. And if these demands are not met, asked the Council leader. Miller's voice remained steady. Then we will begin Phase 3. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. What is Phase 3? Someone called out. We've already demonstrated that we can restrict their fleet movements, Miller explained. Phase 3 would involve a complete shutdown of all their interplanetary infrastructure. Communications, trade routes, power distribution networks, everything. The bird-like delegate's feathers ruffled in alarm. You can't. Some of these civilizations span hundreds of worlds. Billions rely on that infrastructure. Then they should have thought of that before attacking a primitive world, Miller replied. We're not the ones who chose violence. We're simply better at responding to it than they expected. As if to punctuate his words, new alerts flashed across the chamber's information screens. The Hive Collective had just attempted a massive cyber attack against Earth's defense grid. The attack had failed spectacularly, their own systems crashing in the process. Miller watched the chaos unfold with grim satisfaction. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their hidden technology, it was their determination to never again be victims. The next 48 hours transformed the galactic political landscape. 3 of the 7 accused civilizations had broken ranks, approaching Earth with offers of full confession and cooperation. The remaining 4, led by the Blue Star Alliance, remained defiant. In the human quarter, President Miller reviewed the latest intelligence with his team. The holographic displays showed widespread unrest across the blockaded systems as their citizens learned the truth about their leaders' actions against Earth. The Blue Star Alliance is facing internal rebellion, Lisa Porter reported, bringing up detailed footage of protests on their capital worlds. Their own people are demanding answers. They don't like learning they've been complicit in attacking a younger civilization. Admiral Reed nodded approvingly. Psychological warfare at its finest. We didn't have to fire a single shot, their own guilt is tearing them apart. Speaking of shots, Marcus Wells interrupted, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the Hive Collective's military installations. They might be preparing something desperate. Miller studied the data carefully. The Hive Collective, known for their absolute unity of purpose, had gone suspiciously quiet after their failed cyber attack. What's the status of their quantum shielding? Completely dependent on their central network, Lisa answered. The same network we can shut down any time we want. A priority alert flashed across their screens. The council leader was calling an emergency session, marked as extreme urgency. When Miller entered the council chamber this time, he immediately sensed something had changed. The remaining delegates were agitated, their various biological signs showing clear stress. The council leader's crystalline form was pulsing with rapid, chaotic patterns. President Miller, the leader began without preamble, we have intercepted communications indicating the Hive Collective is preparing to deploy forbidden weapons technology. They appear willing to risk galactic war rather than submit to Earth's demands. Miller remained outwardly calm, though his mind raced through contingency plans. What kind of weapons? Reality destabilizers, the bird-like delegate answered, feathers quivering. Weapons that tear holes in spacetime itself. They were banned eons ago for good reason. Even testing them risks catastrophic damage to the fabric of space. We cannot allow their use, the council leader declared. But our peacekeeping forces cannot penetrate their defenses quickly enough to stop them. President Miller, your blockade technology is already being reprogrammed, Miller finished, having quietly sent orders through his secure comm link. But I need something in return. The chamber fell silent, waiting. Full council backing for all our demands, Miller stated. Not just against the Hive Collective, but all those who attacked Earth. Official recognition of our right to defend ourselves. And guaranteed prosecution of all responsible parties. The council leader's glow intensified. You bargain while reality itself is at risk? No, Miller corrected. I ensure justice while offering to save everyone. There's a difference. Before anyone could respond, Lisa's voice came through Miller's private comm, Mr. President, the Hive Collective has begun powering up the reality destabilizers. Time to deployment, 10 minutes. Miller raised his voice to address the chamber. The choice is simple. Either the council unanimously backs Earth's position right now, or we'll handle the Hive Collective our way, and then continue with our original demands anyway. The council leader's crystalline surface rippled with complex patterns, their species equivalent of intense calculation. Finally, they spoke, the council will vote immediately. The vote took precisely 2 minutes. Fear of the reality destabilizers combined with Earth's demonstrated power proved persuasive. The Council formally recognized all of Earth's demands and granted emergency powers to stop the Hive Collective. Miller didn't waste a second. Admiral Reed, execute Operation Blackout. Across dozens of star systems, the Hive Collective's entire infrastructure went dark. Their reality destabilizers, their defenses, their basic life support systems, everything shut down simultaneously. In the space of 30 seconds, one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had been completely paralyzed. The weapons have been neutralized, Lisa confirmed. And I'm detecting thousands of surrender signals from Hive Collective worlds. Miller turned to the stunned council. Now, about those trials we discussed. The trials began 3 days later in the Grand Justice Hall of the Galactic Council. The chamber, larger than the regular council room, was packed with representatives from hundreds of civilizations. The accused sat in a special section, former leaders of the 7 civilizations that had conspired against Earth. President Miller watched from Earth's newly elevated position among the senior council members. The human delegation had been moved from their previous lower-tier seating to one of the highest platforms, symbolizing their new status in galactic society. The evidence is overwhelming, announced the Chief Justice, a being of pure thought contained within an ancient mechanical shell. Not only did these leaders authorize attacks against a developing civilization, but they also attempted to conceal their actions through elaborate deception. The holographic displays showed detailed timelines of every attack on Earth, each earthquake, storm, and disease outbreak. The blue-skinned former leader of the Star Alliance stood up, his pride finally broken. "We admit our guilt," he declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "We saw humanity's potential. Your rapid advancement frightened us. In barely 2 centuries, you progressed from primitive combustion engines to quantum technology. So you decided to destroy us?" Miller asked calmly. "To contain you," corrected another defendant, the former Hive Collective Queen. "Your species adapts too quickly, learns too fast. We thought if we could keep you focused on surviving disasters, it would slow your development." Admiral Reed leaned close to Miller and whispered, "They have no idea that their attacks actually accelerated our progress, do they?" Miller smiled slightly. He remembered how each disaster had pushed human innovation forward. The engineered plagues had revolutionized their medical technology. The artificial earthquakes had led to breakthrough discoveries in geology and physics. Every attempt to weaken humanity had only made them stronger. The Chief Justice's mechanical shell hummed as they prepared to announce the sentences. For crimes against an emerging civilization, for violating the most sacred laws of the Council, and for attempting to use forbidden weapons, this court sentences the convicted to the following. Lisa Porter's voice came through Miller's private comm. "Mr. President, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the defendant's area." Miller tensed. "What kind of signatures?" "Quantum tunneling. Someone's trying to teleport the defendants out." Before Miller could respond, Admiral Reed had already activated Earth's countermeasures. A subtle field of energy enveloped the defendant's area, blocking any attempt at quantum manipulation. The blue-skinned former leader looked up in shock, realizing their last desperate escape plan had failed. The humans' technological mastery was complete. "Interesting," Miller announced loudly, standing up. "It seems some of our friends had a backup plan. Don't worry, the quantum tunneling attempt has been blocked. Please continue, Chief Justice." The sentences were severe: permanent exile to primitive worlds, stripped of all advanced technology and knowledge. Their civilizations would be placed under council oversight, with significant reparations to be paid to Earth. As the defendants were led away, the council leader approached Miller. "You knew they would try to escape." "We knew everything," Miller confirmed. "Every backup plan, every hidden weapon, every secret communication. That's why we waited so long to reveal ourselves. We needed to be certain we could counter anything they might try." "And now?" the leader asked. "What are humanity's plans as a full council member?" Miller looked out at the assembled representatives, many of whom were still trying to process how completely their understanding of humanity had been upended. "Now we do what humans have always done," he answered. "We learn. We grow. We explore. But this time, we do it as equals in the galactic community." He paused, his expression becoming serious. And we make sure nobody ever underestimates humanity again. The council leader's crystalline form shimmered, their species equivalent of a thoughtful nod. They had all learned an important lesson: appearance and age did not determine a civilization's strength. What mattered was determination, adaptability, and the will to survive. As the session ended, Miller knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven themselves on the galactic stage. The real challenge would be showing the galaxy that they could be not just powerful, but wise. 1 month after the trials, the Galactic Council gathered for a historic session. The chamber had been reorganized, with Earth's delegation now permanently stationed among the senior members. President Miller observed the changed dynamics with quiet satisfaction. The galaxy's political landscape had shifted dramatically in just a few weeks. The rehabilitation of the convicted civilizations proceeds as planned, reported the Council's Oversight Committee. Holographic displays showed the former aggressors' worlds adapting to their new reality. The transition teams are ensuring minimal disruption to civilian populations. Miller watched the footage of his former enemies. The Blue Star Alliance worlds were already showing signs of positive change, their society becoming more open and transparent under Council guidance. The Hive Collective's worlds were experiencing individual thought for the first time in millennia, their forced unity replaced by genuine cooperation. Earth's defensive technology has been remarkable, commented a reptilian delegate who had once doubted them. Perhaps you would consider sharing some of it with the Council's peacekeeping forces? Admiral Reed, standing beside Miller, kept his face carefully neutral. They had expected this request. Everyone wanted to know the secrets of humanity's sudden leap forward. We're open to sharing certain defensive capabilities, Miller responded diplomatically. Under proper oversight and controls, of course. The same oversight we ourselves have accepted as a council member. Lisa Porter's voice came through his private comm, Mr. President, the quantum scans are complete. You were right, at least 30 other civilizations have been conducting covert operations against developing worlds. Miller wasn't surprised. Earth's victory had inspired other victims to come forward, revealing a widespread pattern of technological civilizations interfering with developing ones. The galaxy's power structure had been built on invisible oppression. Distinguished delegates, Miller addressed the chamber, standing up. Earth's experience has exposed a serious flaw in our galactic society. The strong have preyed upon the weak, hiding behind technological superiority and elaborate deception. The chamber fell silent. Many delegates shifted uncomfortably, knowing their own civilizations might not be innocent. We propose the creation of a new council initiative, Miller continued. A program to identify and protect developing civilizations. To ensure that what happened to Earth never happens to another young species. And who would oversee this program? Asked the bird-like delegate, their feathers ruffling with interest. A joint committee, Miller answered. Representatives from both established and emerging civilizations. Earth would be willing to provide the defensive technology needed to enforce protection. Marcus Wells, Earth's chief diplomat, stepped forward with detailed proposals. The humans had prepared for this moment, ready to reshape galactic society into something more equitable. There's more, Miller added. Our intelligence suggests numerous civilizations are currently suffering from covert attacks similar to what Earth endured. We propose immediate investigation and intervention where necessary. The council leader's crystalline form pulsed with concern. You would have us potentially destabilize multiple civilizations? The political chaos could be unprecedented. The chaos already exists, Miller countered. We're simply bringing it into the light. Unless you suggest we maintain the current system of invisible oppression? The leader couldn't argue. Earth's own experience had proven that confronting such injustice, while difficult, was necessary for genuine progress. As the council debated the proposals, Admiral Reed showed Miller new data on his secure tablet. Earth's hidden sensors had detected more quantum signatures suggesting other civilizations were developing their own versions of reality destabilizers. The galaxy was changing rapidly, and not all changes were positive. "We'll need to accelerate our plans," Miller murmured to his team. Phase 4 might need to begin earlier than expected. The humans had already proven they could defend themselves. Now they needed to show they could lead, not through force or fear, but through justice and protection of the weak. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, but their fundamental belief in fairness and justice. As the council session continued, Miller looked out at the stars visible through the chamber's crystal walls. Somewhere out there, countless young civilizations were developing, unaware of the galactic politics that might shape their destiny. Thanks to Earth's stand against oppression, they would have a better chance to develop freely, protected by the very powers that might once have tried to contain them. 6 months after Earth's revelation to the Galactic Council, President Miller stood at the inauguration of the Civilization Protection Initiative headquarters. The massive space station, built using a combination of Earth's defensive technology and contributions from reformed council members, hung in neutral space like a shining beacon of hope. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," Miller addressed the assembled delegates and billions watching across countless worlds. "From this station, we will monitor and protect developing civilizations throughout our galaxy. No more will the strong prey upon the weak. No more will advanced races manipulate those still finding their path among the stars." The station's central control room was a marvel of cooperation between species. Humans worked alongside former enemies, their combined knowledge creating protection systems far more advanced than what Earth had developed alone. Even the Blue Star Alliance, under new leadership, had contributed valuable insights. "Mr. President," Lisa Porter approached with urgent data. "The Phase 4 scans are complete. We've identified 43 developing civilizations currently under covert attack or manipulation." Admiral Reed studied the data on his holographic display. The pattern matches what was done to Earth. Engineered disasters, staged conflicts, manipulated resources. His face hardened. Some of these attacks have been going on for centuries. Miller nodded grimly. It was exactly what they had expected. The galaxies powerful had long played a cruel game with developing worlds, treating them like pieces on a cosmic chess board. "Begin intervention protocols," Miller ordered. "Alert the Protection Initiative teams. Priority to the worlds suffering the most severe attacks." Marcus Wells, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the initiative, pulled up detailed operation plans. "We've already positioned defensive grids around 12 of the most critical cases. We can have full protection coverage for all 43 worlds within a month." The council leader, who had come to respect and even admire humanity's dedication to justice, approached Miller. "You've transformed our society more in 6 months than we managed in 10,000 years, they observed, their crystalline form glowing with admiration. "Because we remember what it was like to be vulnerable," Miller replied. "To face disasters we didn't understand, to lose millions of our people to someone else's game. Earth will never forget that feeling." A sudden alert drew everyone's attention to the main display. One of the monitoring stations had detected a new civilization, just achieving faster-than-light travel capability. Their first steps into the galactic community would have once made them targets for manipulation and control. "Perfect timing," Miller smiled. "They'll be the first civilization to emerge under the Protection Initiative's watch. Instead of facing secret attacks, they'll receive open guidance and support." The station's quantum communications array lit up as representatives from dozens of worlds requested to join the protection efforts. Species that had once competed for power were now competing to help guard the vulnerable. Earth's example had awakened something long dormant in the galaxy's conscience. "It's time for the announcement," Marcus reminded Miller. The president nodded and returned to the podium. "Today, I'm proud to announce Phase 4 of Earth's initiative," Miller began. The establishment of the Galactic Development Fund. Every civilization that once sought to hold others back will now contribute to their advancement. Together, we will create a galaxy where progress is not feared, but celebrated. The applause that filled the chamber was genuine. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Earth's rise from victim to protector had shown a better way forward. As the ceremony concluded, Miller stood with his team, watching the endless stream of stars through the station's observation dome. Somewhere out there, countless young civilizations were taking their first steps into a larger universe. Thanks to humanity's stand against injustice, they would find not oppression and manipulation, but protection and guidance. What do you think they'll call this period in galactic history? Marcus wondered aloud. Miller smiled. The human delegates call it the Great Awakening. But I prefer what the younger races have started calling it. He paused, looking out at the stars. The beginning of justice. Earth had not only survived its trial by fire, it had emerged as a beacon of hope and protection for all developing civilizations. The age of secret manipulation was over. The age of open cooperation and protected development had begun.